Okay, welcome everyone to the June webinar at Community IT. Today we'll be talking about Windows 10, Office 2016, and Skype for Business. So some webinar tips as we get ready. We'll be taking questions via chat during the entire session. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions in advance when you registered. I think we'll cover a lot of those during the session today. We do have just a handful of polls to get a little interaction for content during the session. And as always, avoid multitasking. You might just miss the best part of the presentation. And if you do happen to miss something, the webinar PowerPoint and recording will be shared after the session in about a few days at this point. So thanks again for attending the webinar today. A little bit about Community IT. So we're a strategic partner with nonprofits, helping them solve their strategic and day-to-day IT challenges. So we've worked with over 900 organizations since 1993. I myself am coming up on my 15-year anniversary. I actually started as an intern in 2000, so it's it's been great to work with such a wide range of organizations over that time. And we have a great team of staff here that really are invested in the success of our clients. So my name is Matthew Eshleman. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Community IT. You can feel free to reach me via email or follow me on Twitter, and I'm happy to be joined by Pat Sprehe. Pat, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Patrick Sprehe. I'm a network manager here at Community IT.
And you can follow us at Community IT on Twitter as well. So a couple links and some good content go out throughout the week. Typically, if we have security alerts, those that will all go out over our Twitter feed. So I encourage you to follow us if you are not already. All right, so today on the agenda, we're going to talk about some of the new technologies that Microsoft is releasing. So last month, my colleague Steve and I talked a little bit about what we found interesting and compelling from the Microsoft Ignite conference, where they showed a lot of this stuff off. So today we'll do a little bit of a dive into the actual technology. So we'll start off with talking and looking actually at Windows 10, which is now in technical preview and should be released by the end of the summer. We'll then switch gears a little bit to look at Office 2016. So I'll talk a little bit about the Office 2016 on Windows, and Pat will talk a little bit about Office 2016 for the Mac. We'll chat a little bit about Skype for Business. That's a rebranding of Link for Business, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. I do encourage everyone to chat in those questions. As they come up, we'll be interacting with folks on the chat as we go. So thanks again for attending. Look forward to you interacting, and we'll go ahead and start off with a survey here. Just get your impact about what are folks feeling about Windows 10. So go ahead and just click in the link. We'll get a little bit of response to figure out what the straw poll is on Windows 10. So thanks everybody. All right, so so we'll see the results here. About 70%, maybe. 31%, 30% of you are true believers, and maybe you know more about Windows 10 than I do. So I would love to get your input. Yeah, and 0% never. So I don't know. That's a little encouraging.
Very open-minded.
I appreciate it. No, I think it's good, and and I think everybody knows Microsoft's track record of getting the operating system right every other version. So yeah, after the stumble that was Windows 8 and then 8.1, they're due for a success. So yeah, I think Windows 10 might just do the trick. All right, so I mean, what's to know a little bit about Windows 10? According to Microsoft and the product manager Joe Belfiore, this is the last version of Windows. So they, are moving to, kind of the update cycle across all their platforms that, Google has been doing for a while with their, Chrome and the services that they offer. The model that, Apple has moved to with OS X, and just kind of relatively small but more frequent, version updates. And so Microsoft is adopting that. So it's quote unquote the last version of Windows, and it will be a free upgrade for Windows 7 and Windows 8 users. So again, that's another compelling reason to look at upgrading, is that it's going to be a free upgrade, and then it kind of gives you the opportunity to have a consistent operating system across the entire organization. It looks like that update mechanism is already being tested. So if you sign up for the technical preview and you have a tablet or some other smaller form factors, you can actually download the whole thing through Windows Update. And so that'll be so that mechanism is in place to actually do the whole OS update. A few months ago, I installed on a tablet, and that's how it was updated on my tablet. I just did some installation kind of from scratch, 3 gig download, and the installation went very quick. So it's a free upgrade for Windows 7 and 8 users, and I think a little bit of the logic behind that from Microsoft's perspective is just to encourage people to kind of keep up to date, and to give them, I don't know, maybe a smaller attack surface for maintaining security updates. So there's a big buzz about Windows, XP is no longer supported, but yet it still represents a pretty large installed footprint. The same thing, Windows 2003 is going to be end of life here in the middle of July, and so there's a real push to get those systems off, because the security patches that are coming out, just can't be applied to those older operating systems. So I think Microsoft is making a big push to keep everybody up to date, and making the operating system free is one way to go. So, the other thing is the Windows that you'll love. I'm not sure if anyone loves their operating system, but this one they claim will be a pleasure to use, and I would really encourage you to check out the link that'll be embedded here in the SharePoint, or in the PowerPoint here. That is the Joe Belfiore's speech and kind of demo at the Microsoft Ignite conference. So a lot of that is kind of scripted, and all the magic is happening behind the scenes, but it really does give you a really good overview as well of some of the features and benefits. So and he shows a lot of some things in his demo that that we're not able to be to do here today. But so I would encourage you to to kind of check out what's going on in Windows 10. So that video is worth watching. So talking a little bit more specifically about the features, and we'll actually flip over to a live demo, and I know that's always dangerous, but we'll do a live demo to look at some of the stuff for real. So the big news, Start menu, it's back, kind of. So Windows 7 I thought was a great operating system. Vista, Windows 8, not great. They kind of brought back the Start menu a little bit with Windows 8.1, but now it looks a lot more comfortable, I would say, in Windows 10. It does have some of the features of the live tiles, but it's a lot more comfortable and focused, I would say, in Windows 10. Project Spartan is the new web browser. There's a lot of little kind of whiz bang features that are available kind of native within the browser that previously were part of add-ons, or you could get, but now that's part of the core functionality of the browser. Desktops feature, so you can have multiple desktops. This is a feature that's been available in Linux for a long time. It's been available on Mac for a long time. Now that's coming to Windows. They've enhanced Cortana, so that's the Microsoft personal assistant. So you can ask it questions, and then she'll go out and find the answer. Right now, Cortana is going to be focused primarily on searching things on the internet and on your computer. It looks like in the future you can ask Cortana how to do things in your Excel spreadsheet, and she'll help you out. And then there's some other things around, universal Windows apps. This is honestly stuff that I don't get into. So apparently, if you have an Xbox and you've got your Xbox Music app, that's going to work on Xbox. It's going to work on your Windows 10 computer. It's going to work on your Windows 10 phone. So you'll have that consistent, application across all those platforms. And then with Continuum, then again, that's a kind of a similar concept in that the applications will follow and adapt themselves as you move from the phone. You can have that application then transition over to your desktop when you get into the office. So they're really, I think, focused on the end user and having a consistent and maybe not consistent, but a familiar and adaptable experience kind of across the different devices that people use throughout the day. Then the final thing, and this is actually new and perhaps maybe one of the most exciting or compelling reasons to look at Windows 10 is around computer management via Azure Active Directory. So even a few months ago, I was tweeting out links that talked about can you get rid of your domain controller and do it all through Azure Active Directory? At least the answer a few months ago was actually no. So Azure Active Directory at that point was primarily focused on managing user information, so user account information, but it couldn't actually do devices, computer authentication. So you would still need a domain controller to kind of authenticate and manage computers in your network, even though maybe the user authentication is all in Azure Active Directory. So that looks to be changing with Windows 10. Whenever I set up the computer that we'll be looking at today, I actually logged in with our Office 365 credentials, and the device shows up in my mobile device section under the admin portal in Office 365. So, I can't deploy printers to it or map a network drive, but now I can actually see the device, see that I'm registered to it, and have some degree of control over that device. So I think that's actually a huge breakthrough, and I think would be a great help for those organizations where, maybe you're, 15, 20 people, does it still make sense for you to have a server in your office? Now maybe not if you can do a lot of the computer management all through Office 365. So let's go take a look at some of this stuff and see if we can take a look at what Windows 10 looks like. So you'll see this is the Windows 10 Enterprise Insider Preview. So this is available generally, and so you can sign up for it and download it. So you'll see a couple things are new. So maybe starting here on the right is notifications. So that was one of the knocks on Windows 8 is it was hard to get to all the settings, so all of that is available pretty quickly from the notifications window. So you'll see that something that's available right here. And then if we switch over to the Start menu, we'll go ahead and get a look at that. So that's the biggest change visually, I would say, right off the bat is the Start menu. So you've got kind of your traditional application list. So these would be some most used applications. So you can see, I've been in Excel and Outlook and the remote desktop connection. And then you do have these live tiles here. So you can, move these things, resize them. If you right click on it, you can, make this smaller. You can, do it, make it on, off. I don't know why you'd want to make, if weather's really important, you can make that, very, very prominent. So you can do, do a lot of that live tile activation right here. If for some reason you're a big fan of the Windows 8 model, you can actually expand the Start menu. And so it'll go back to that traditional Windows, kind of 8 landscape mode where it takes up the whole screen. Maybe if you're on a tablet, maybe you got your Surface Pro 3, and this works out well for you. This kind of feature or view is still available, but I think Microsoft's recognition that the default is going to be this more concise Start menu. So as we move a little bit away from the Start menu, over here we've got Cortana. So Cortana knows that my name is Matt, and it shows me some relevant information about the weather nearby, some news, the terrible tragedy in South Carolina is obviously getting a lot of attention. So I want to look for the best park in DC. So essentially this is going to launch Project Spartan, so the new web browser, and it's going to bring back the results for what's the best park in Washington DC. So a little bit more about some of the features that are in Project Spartan is you'll notice a couple of things right here about making a web note, and so this is I think part of Microsoft's improvement of collaboration. I think so whether this is a meaningful improvement or not, I mean, you can you should be able to click on some of these things to do highlighting and highlight the pages to make notes. We could say, hey, we should let's really need to check this place out. Then I can go ahead and save it. So unfortunately, right now the share feature is not available in the preview, but apparently when it's done, you'll be able to share this information with with other folks. So it looks like I'll be able to save this to OneNote, for example. So yeah, with a preview, yeah, something went wrong, of course. So with the preview, not all the features are available, but I think it shows the direction that Microsoft is going. Oh yeah, actually the other thing that was built into Project Spartan is like little stuff like the clipboard. I love this feature, being able to do a screen capture, and I know there's a lot of utilities and now OneNote, it's a feature that's built in, but that's a pretty handy feature to have built into the browser. Let's see. So other features that we've got in Office 360 or in Windows 10 are going to be around the multiple desktops. So right here you can see I've got Skype open, I've got the Project Spartan open, and so I can change the task view. So right now there's my desktop 1, and now I have access to desktop 2. So maybe this is something where I want to find pictures of I don't know, dancing chipmunks or something. So maybe I don't want to have that on my work screen, but I could find that in the and put that on my second desktop so that people aren't I can switch quickly back and forth whenever somebody comes to walk over my shoulder. So I think those are probably some of the biggest highlights with Windows 10. I will show a little bit about the computer login and computer management kind of at the end. I just don't want to log in and log out at the to take up that time. So again, if there's any questions, feel free to go ahead and chat those in. But I'd say overall, things look good in Office with Windows 10. So let's change gears a little bit, and we'll go ahead and switch over to what's new in Office 2016. So primarily in Office 2016, there's a lot of updates. Visually, I think to most of the applications, I think it's a refinement for most applications. The Outlook, there's probably the most notable things, mostly dealing with handling attachments. New features like clutter, which if you're in Office 365, you will already, maybe have seen that, where it's kind of helping you filter some of your information. Probably some of the big winners in Office 2016 are around document co-editing. That'll be available in Word, so you can do that Word natively on your desktop. There's features called the query box in Office, which again is around helping people use all of the features more effectively. Some new things like work groups which is a Microsoft initiative to help people kind of self-organize around projects or initiatives without needing IT to create a security group or distribution group. And then new features or new products like Sway, which is going to be kind of the newer, cooler presentation software compared to PowerPoint. And then there's a lot more stuff around business intelligence and data analytics and reporting, and we'll try to show off some of that. And then some other features around data loss prevention, particularly as it's tied into Office 365, where you can we'll be able to do some encryption and more sophisticated management of those documents. And so I don't know, Pat, you want to talk a little bit about Office 2016 for the Mac?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are really two big changes in Office 2016 for Mac with regards to things that are different from Office 2016 for Windows. And the first big change is that the Office for Mac is now much more similar. Both the interface and a lot of the features are much more similar to Office 2016 for Windows. So they really are trying to, incorporate the Macs into the infrastructure of what they have available. Along with that, the integration between Office 2016 for Macs and Office 365 is much tighter as well. So they're really stepping up their game with Macs. The one thing I will mention that is really lacking right now, and I believe they promised this is coming out later this year, is that they don't have a Skype for Business app for Mac yet. I'm still using the Link 2011 for Macs.
Okay, great. So let's also love to get folks' perspective on how you're feeling about. Well, let's see, we don't have that survey here actually. Yeah, so if you want to actually just chat in, maybe how you're feeling about Office 2016, if you're ready to adopt it, or if perhaps you're still lamenting the loss of Word 2003, we could get some feedback on that as well. Yep. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. I mean, I really wanted this session to be a chance for us to actually take a look at the application and dig into it a little bit. So, all right, let's go ahead and get rid of our dancing chipmunks and take a look at what's new in some of the new Office features. So let's take a look at Outlook. And so apologies, you're gonna get my email here. So while that's loading, let's also go ahead and we'll open up Excel, because I think there's some neat things in Excel as well. All right. So let's go ahead and open up Excel. So this is actually just a sample document that I downloaded, I think from the Microsoft site. That is just a data set. So this data set represents all of the power generation sites in the United States. So we'll take a look and do some stuff with this document. So as you can see, kind of the familiar flat effect. I think there's a bit more visual distinction in the menu bar and the ribbon up here. I know that was actually one of the biggest challenges I think folks had going from Office 2010 to Office 2013 was just how flat Office 2013 was. After a few weeks, you got used to it, but I think that was the biggest complaint that I heard, honestly, around Office 2013 was just how flat it was. So there's a bit more visual distinction now back in Office 2016. You have your traditional, file, insert, all this stuff across the top. There's a bunch more options now in, in kind of the data business analytics side. Power Pivot is now, I think, a default option that's included with Office 2016. The other thing that's kind of neat, I don't know, maybe neat up here, is there's this option here for touch or mouse mode. So I think, again, this is a recognition of the fact that most there's more and more touch-enabled devices, tablets, and so on. And so this is one thing. So if you change it, so right now it's for mouse, so you see the standard ribbon and commands. If we change it to touch, everything gets a little bit bigger, so you can, stick your finger on it and have a bit more room for error, as opposed to, having the precision of a mouse. So that's one of the new visual elements that is included within Office 2016. So that touch, mouse or touch mode. So the other thing that I talked about a little bit is the query. So this is, again, there are so many features in the whole Office product suite that it's impossible to use them all. And I went to some sessions around Office, and everybody makes the that claim of everybody uses 20% of the Office features, but everybody uses a different 20%. So Microsoft feels like they can't really get rid of any features and slim it down because every feature is important to somebody. So so this is a way for them to help users find and use the features that they want to use or kind of learn about new features. So we'll go ahead and check out actually a new feature that's included in the map, and so that is Power Map. And so we'll see if we can get a little Power Map demo here. So again, Power Map is a new product add-on that that Microsoft, I think, incorporated or was available in maybe in Office 2013, but now as an add-on, and now it's included by default as part of the baseline installation. And so what this is a way to kind of do some more sophisticated data visualization with with the information that you have in Excel. So in this case, we are looking at the power, energy capacity in the United States. So we can, let's see, take this example. And so this is something where this is kind of an overlay on Excel. So it's pulling data out of Excel, gives you some tools to manipulate the data, and then you can actually publish this information into YouTube and make videos and have some other ways to share that content. So as you see right here, we've got our data, and so what is happening is that this tool is pulling the field. So the field on the left correlates to the column that's in Excel. So we've got county, and then it maps to, on the right, some predefined geographical sets. So you can do things by latitude, longitude, all these different fields. So you can map all of this out. And so right now what we're seeing, this is just the visual representation of the power plants in in the U.S. So we can zoom in on this a little bit. We can move around. We can change the perspective a little bit. So this is an interesting flat representation of all the power generation in the United States. So if you want to add a little bit of visual distinction, one of the things you can do is add some additional attributes to it. So in this case, let's go ahead and add the capacity into the module. So now we can see, not just the physical location of all the power plants in the United States, but now we get a sense of where most of the power is being generated. So again, kind of a neat way to visually represent information and maybe provide some more insight into the data set that you have. So I could actually see this being a pretty powerful and a pretty relevant tool for for the organizations that we serve. If you want to get some information about your constituents, maybe how where folks are located, what are the groupings, where who's giving the most money, where are those regions at, all of that I think is going to be easier to generate with some of these additional tools that are included now into Excel 2016. So that was one of the neat whiz bang demos in Office 20 or in Excel that I thought, hey, this is pretty neat and worthwhile for a good reason to upgrade. All right. All right. So now we've got this, and so this is Outlook, and obviously I've got a ton of email in my Outlook, and I am in my email all day long. So some of the nice things that I've found that are worthwhile in Outlook are when I go to attach a file, it's actually going to show me a list of my recent items that I worked on, which I think is really fantastic. So now I can see, hey, I just opened up that power station sample. Maybe I'm going to want to include that. Uh, Maybe I want to send a copy of this Windows 10 presentation. You can see it has a little cloud icon overlay, and so by default, it's going to send that just as a link. So you see it's in the cloud. By default, recipients can edit. Well, maybe I only want to change the permissions so that the recipients can view. So all of that interaction is going to be done right through the, right through the attachment. Office, I think, has had add-ins for a while. There's a whole raft of new add-ins. We use DocuSign for some contracting, so now I can have an add-in for DocuSign that I can add right into my Outlook messages, and we can include that right there. So I think visually, there's some visual distinction now in the ribbon, and there are some refinements, and I think the biggest one that I find kind of the most helpful is around just some of the quick file attachment list. All of that stuff is pretty nice to have access to. So I'm not going to save those changes. So those are the big some of the new features that are incorporated into Office. I would say some of the highlights that are in Office. So if you are an Office 365 customer right now, you can actually download the preview. It's available in your portal. You do need to turn on the option to allow, I guess, like new features to be delivered to your organization, and then it will be provided for you as a download, and you can download it, register it as a computer in your register it as the with your username and password. It will activate, and then you can have access to it right from there. So I would encourage folks to go ahead and check it out as it's already available. Pat, how's the Mac software download? Because that follows a similar process as well, correct?
Yeah, I think you can I mean, you can download. I know for 2011 you can download it the same way through the software page on Office 365, and I assume now that you've enabled the essentially the beta releases, that I can download the same with Mac. I'm not quite sure. I haven't tried.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and just go ahead and show. So if you're in your Office 365 portal, if you go under Service Settings and User Software, you can do the management of that software right through here. So in terms of previous versions, that's all available in this area. And then whenever we talk about updates, this is where you'll actually change if you're going to be on the standard release cycle. So if you are not seeing some new features that are in Office 365 that you hear your friends or colleagues talking about, it's probably because your administrator has set you to the standard cycle. You can also change to first release and just do selected people. That could be one option if you want to try out some of the new features, but not not make it available to everybody. The intern who's extra curious that wants to go download and install things on their own. So that's all available through the settings, service settings, and updates. So for me, so if I go into Office 365 settings, so you can see there's me, there's the software that I have, and then you can see the different Office installs that I have. So again, if you're an Office 365 customer with E3, you get 5 licenses to install. So you can see I've got it on 4 computers. So I've got it on my computer, a tablet, another Windows test station, and so that gives me 1 remaining install. And so I can log in here as a user and kind of manage my activations. And then again, here's where I can see the latest version of Office, and then I also see that I have the option to try the next version of Office. So that's something, and if for some reason you need to have Office 2010, that's available here as well. So that's for for staff. If you log in, click on the settings menu, and then you would get access to all of the all the features that are available to you as a user in that domain. I do want to kind of circle back and show the, so on the app launcher, so Sway I mentioned as a new feature. It's not necessarily an Office 2016 feature. It's not a Windows 10 feature. It's kind of under the umbrella of Office 365, but Sway is now available and will show up as an app in the app launcher here. And then the same thing, Yammer is now available, and Power BI, which has been there for a while, just to highlight some of the new things that are along here, as well as the video portal. So that's Microsoft's attempt to bring in some enterprise video features into the under the Office 365 umbrella. So I'm just going to go back to the admin settings and kind of circle back to the fact that now I've got under mobile devices, now I can see that I've got my mobile device registered here in here right in the Office 365 portal. So it looks like there will be some new features, mobile device management in terms of wipe and other features. Looks like they're going to be coming embedded in the Office 365 admin portal. All right, I'm going to pause here, see that there's some questions coming in, and I'll just take a look at some of those questions. Actually, Pat, maybe I'll ask you, what's your experience with Outlook 2016 for Mac compared to previous versions? I know that's a big pain point. All right, we'll move on. All right, so I guess we'll pick up Pat's answer here in a little bit. In terms of, so the next question around Windows 10 being released on July 29th, what is the date for Office 365 and Office 2016? So I'm not sure when Office 2016 goes into your kind of official release. It is available now. If you do have Office 365, you can go ahead and download it and test it out. Kind of anecdotally at the Microsoft Ignite conference, basically all the presenters were all running Windows 10 on their computers. Most everybody had some version of Office 2016. It seemed like Office 2016 needed a bit more work, particularly with some of the advanced features in Excel and some other things like that, before it was really ready to go for for prime time. All right. So I think there was a question around Sway. So yeah, again, Sway is Microsoft's kind of new presentation tool. It's worth checking out. Sway.com has some demos and just some examples of what you can use. It seems a bit immature at this point, but I think Microsoft's perspective is that PowerPoint, they're looking for us. I guess there's an acknowledgement that more and more folks are consuming information on tablets or other kind of smaller form factors, and the traditional PowerPoint format just doesn't necessarily scale down that well. So one of the benefits of Sway is that it does some kind of auto resizing, and it's sensitive to the performance of the endpoint where it's being consumed on, and so it can do those adjustments kind of on the fly. So that's the real benefit of I think of Sway and what their perspective is. There's a question around multi-factor authentication. So, and that's in Office 365. So so yes, multi-factor authentication is coming. It's already there, but it kind of all depends on which product SKU you have. So right now, it's actually a separate add-on that's not available to nonprofits at a nonprofit discount. So it's part of the Azure Active Directory Premium, which is like $6 per user per month. So, I mean, honestly, I think if you're looking for multi-factor authentication, there are better, cheaper, less complicated ways to go about multi-factor authentication, particularly as it relates to single sign-on. So, uh, personally, I like Okta. OneLogin's another good option, where that gives you the ability to do single sign-on, to do multi-factor authentication with a PIN code on your an app on your phone. And so that's, I think, where most of our kind of the nonprofit space will probably end up, unless Microsoft makes some changes in terms of how they provide and deliver multi-factor authentication. They're really geared towards 5,000 seat organizations in terms of the scale that they're designing things at, which tends to just be complete overkill for for most organizations. So mobile device management, it's already in Office 365. It's already there to some extent, and I think Microsoft is going to continue to add more functionality. And my guess is that the mobile device management that's included with the Office 365 subscription is going to meet 90% of the use cases that most organizations have. I mean, sometimes you may need additional features or capacity that you're going to need to pay for, an AirWatch or Mobile Iron or something like that. But but I think that they're going to be able to do most of it with within whatever you've got. So. All right, so Pat realized that he was muted, so I'll circle back to him to talk a little bit more specifically about Office 2016 on the Mac.
Yeah, so what I what I said to myself apparently was that I've actually switched to largely using Outlook and Office on the Mac, to the exclusion of what I used to use, which was Office through our terminal server, which was, of course, Office 2013 for Windows. It really is a huge improvement over Outlook 2011 and Office 2011. It's much closer to the Windows experience. And also, I should say that since I actually tend to go back and forth between the Windows version of Office and the Mac version of Office, that the formatting between the two is also very solid as well.
Yeah, because I'm primarily a Windows user, so whenever I always look at Office on a Mac, it seems visually very jarring and very different than kind of what I'm used to. But it does seem like they've kind of unified the UI between the platforms.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Good. Good. Well, I think we've had some really good questions. I encourage folks to keep on chatting them in, and we'll go ahead and keep taking the questions as they come. So I don't know, Pat, if you kind of mentioned a little bit about the use of Windows 10, as you're using as as an end user as opposed to an IT administrator, and I was curious if you could just talk a little bit maybe about your perspective or reflections on what you're seeing.
Yeah, so as Matt mentioned, I have not been like looking at the features or at the technology behind it or anything like that. I've purely been using it as an end user, just using it to get my work done. Um, Coming from Windows 7, one of the things I really like to do in Windows 7 is I'll just hit the Windows button and type in, WRD, which opens up Word in the Start menu, and hit enter, and boom, I've opened Word. And just a very quick split-second thing. One thing I have noticed is that since there are a lot more features in Windows 10, the Start menu is slower to open up. So when I hit the Start menu button and type in Word, there's more delay because it's got all these live tiles and all this stuff going on. That quite frankly, I kind of wish I could just get rid of. And I suspect that eventually that will be an option. I haven't found it yet. I haven't really looked very hard, to be honest. Um, so, one of the things I've looked for is streamlining stuff. And that's been my big experience. I mean, to be honest, it really hasn't been a whole lot different than, using Windows in general. Um, yeah, I don't really have much else to add other than that.
Okay. Great. Well, I know we've got just a few minutes left, and so I do want to. The other piece that we were going to talk about a little bit was Skype for Business. So Skype for Business, I don't necessarily know that there's a special, kind of Office 2016, version of Skype for Business. This update came through in April, I think it was April's Microsoft, kind of Patch Tuesday, where it changed the kind of the visual UI from Link into the Skype for Business. So I know it's been challenging for organizations that were heavily using Skype, because now you have to figure out which, are you using the Skype that's the blue icon with a white background or the white icon with a blue background, and so I think that's taking some getting used to. Um, I think the features that are different compared to to Link and some of the new things, we'll get into that. So this, if you're, I think Skype, I thought Link was great, and I think Skype for Business has been really great. We use it a ton at Community IT. We're a fairly distributed and workforce, and as such, we have a lot of meetings, a lot of kind of check-ins, a lot of chats, and so we really use this heavily. I know I have a daily 15-minute video call with my team, and this is a really great tool for us to keep in touch. So here you can see, so this is Pat. He is busy because he's in this webinar, but I'll go ahead and bug Pat. So you can see, there's nothing, necessarily new here in, in the Skype, the kind of the chat feature. So I can, we can have a chat. We could have a video call. We could have a a telephone call, and I would
You
say
could also do screen sharing as well.
yep, that's true. We can do screen sharing. So and that's in this little, I guess, computer icon. So you could present the desktop. So we could just share programs, do files. One of the neat things that is now part of Skype is this My Notes section. So say I wanted to have a conversation with Pat, and I wanted to actually take some notes about what we're talking about. I can go ahead and click on my meeting notes, and it'll automatically pop up a new tab in my OneNote. It'll include the information on who the participants are, and then I can go ahead and type notes for this meeting so that they're not stuck in a saved Skype for Business chat session, but they're actually here in OneNote. So I would say that's one of the neat features. So if you're using OneNote or Skype for Business for a lot of meetings, and you're doing the Skype invite, this is a great way, because you can take attendance, you can and then take meeting notes, and then if this is in a shared OneNote location, then everyone can have a record of that and move forward. So I think I mentioned it during the session that we did last month, but it really is. OneNote was super prevalent, super popular at the Ignite conference. I mean, of all the computer screens I looked over, it really did seem like 90% of them were already using OneNote to take their notes at the session. So so I've certainly been using it quite a lot. In the last year, and even more so in the last few months. So anyways, yeah, so that's probably the newest or the new feature that's probably the most worthwhile that's included with Skype for Business. Um, so that's Skype for Business. I know we're coming down the end, so if you have final questions, go ahead and chat them in. I did want to just show off a little bit of the Azure AD computer management. I mean, the fact that you can log into your computer and authenticate against the cloud directory is pretty cool. And yeah, so I think that's something that will be a big change and really allow organizations to become more distributed, but at the same time still have some accountability and management of their devices across across the across the organization. So here we see our lovely Windows 10 splash page login screen. So here you see I am, here's my account. If I click on sign in options, one of the other things that it automatically does is give you the option to put in a PIN. So you can, have some flexibility in terms of how you are logging in. I'm going to go ahead and just use the regular password. And so, so basically what I'm typing in is my network password because we have our directory synchronized with the Azure Active Directory, and I go ahead and authenticate. And so now I have access to this computer as a, using my community IT username, but this computer is not on our domain. So it's pretty, a pretty powerful thing. So you see, went ahead and logged me in, and yeah, so I'm ready to go. And then this device is now visible in that mobile device management portal. So yeah, this is really, I think a pretty cool feature, and I think is going to be a really powerful tool that enables organizations to to move even more servers out into the cloud or get rid of more servers, especially in their office. Great. So we're not going to be discussing SharePoint in this webinar. So there's a question about SharePoint. That is kind of a lot of this stuff is all kind of tied together. So Office 365 being the umbrella for the services, Windows 10 is the operating system. That licensing is not in Office 365 yet. But then, typically the licensing for Office would be included under there. And some of the features like the document co-editing, I believe do require, OneDrive or SharePoint as kind of the back end for that management. So, they're related, but it's not all, not all necessarily the same thing. The question was, what infrastructure is required to use the video calling desktop sharing with Skype for Business? Essentially, no no additional infrastructure is required. So, your organization doesn't have to have a big server. I mean, it's all kind of runs through the cloud. So it, I have it installed on my laptop. I use it when I'm at home. I use it here in the office. But all of that infrastructure is through kind of through the cloud. Later in the year, so in the second half of the year, Microsoft has said that they will be releasing calling, so traditional telephony services through Skype for Business. So that's something coming. So if you're an organization that's considering replacing your phone system, in the next 6 to 9 months, I would probably hold off and just kind of see what Microsoft is going to do, since you will be able to port your telephone numbers to Microsoft, use their service, and administer all of that through Office 365. So for most organizations, you'll be able to do that without any additional hardware configuration. If you're a 200 or 300 person organization wanting to make that switch, Microsoft does have some tools and technologies that called Express Route that will allow you to configure your network to send voice traffic kind of directly onto their network and kind of bypass some things. So, but just for regular Skype for Business, you do not need, you do not need to have anything special. And I do think Office, the Skype for Business is included with most of the, Office 365 product SKUs. So clearly with, most nonprofits are going to, most nonprofits that will qualify to receive the E1 licensing for free. And so that basically includes, all of the features in Office 365, SharePoint, Exchange Online, Skype for Business, for free if you upgrade to E3, and that's typically what we're seeing organizations do. That also gives you the perpetual license for Office 2013 and Office 2016 when it comes out. And then also gives you some additional features like compliance and e-discovery and some other things that are nice, but you may not actually need. So the real value, I think, is in some of the the Office benefits, and just the fact that the E3 line, even 6 months ago, video wasn't even on the horizon, and now if you're an E3, that's you're kind of getting that feature sooner rather than later. So yeah, great. So let's see. So what's new? So initial thoughts. We talked about it, I think, quite a bit already, but going back to Windows 10, I think it's an improvement over Windows 7, 8, 8.1. It's built for the cloud, kind of by default, and I'm at least kind of now inclined to look at organizations and say, okay, let's go ahead and plan an upgrade. The caveat is, and what we don't know is, how is it going to work with some legacy applications, and what that interaction is going to be. So I think it will require some more testing. I'm not sure on the hardware resources, how it's going to do, but I would feel much better if an organization was kind of all Windows 10 versus the Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1, Windows 10 mix that we see. So so I'm inclined to I like it well enough, and I think the upgrade path will be smooth enough that it would be reasonable for organizations to consider going kind of all Windows 10 once the dust settles here a little bit. And then finally, I think with Office 2016, I think there's lots of really good incremental improvements. There's a ton of business intelligence, data analytics stuff, but I don't spend enough time in it to really make a dent. So I think there's going to be a couple power users that really dig into it, but I think for most folks it's going to be a bit it's not really going to contribute to their day-to-day work. So I'm kind of curious to see how that works. Again, in Office and Outlook, there's this shift from sending attachments to sending links. I think that's great because I think it can help with workflow and making sure that folks are always working on the most consistent or the most current version instead of emailing back and forth attachments with V1, V2, VMAT, VFinal. So I think that'll be good. And then I think some of the other new features like Sway, I'm not sure if that's going to get much traction. We'll see. Same thing with groups. Microsoft I think is kind of sees it as a future. I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out in practice. So overall, I think Office looks good too, and I think for organizations that are in the E3 plan, getting that update license, it'll make sense to go ahead and upgrade since there's not that big financial investment to go ahead and do. Great. Well, I want to thank everyone for your attention today. As a reminder, the webinar was recorded today, and so it will be posted to our YouTube channel, and the slides will be presented. There were a couple of reference links that are available here. So the first one is the TechNet article about Azure AD Computer Management. If you're managing a larger organization, this will probably be interesting reading for you. The Windows 10 demo, that's Joe Belfiore's YouTube demo. Shows a lot more, some cool features that are included in Windows 10, and then there's also what's new in Office 2016 reference link. So all of that should be available, and look forward to having the conversation. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or follow me on Twitter, and I appreciate everyone's attention. Thanks, and have a great day.